Okay, thank you so much, everybody, for being here today. On behalf of Anita B. and the South Florida leadership team, I want to welcome you. We're really excited for this event. We have a great agenda that we're going to be sharing a little bit, but I just wanted to take everybody. This is a community event, and it's amazing to see how everybody comes together to participate and be part of our community. Let me quickly go over the agenda. We will start with the Fireside chat. Let your values lead the way. It's going to be about 45 minutes, and then we have 10 minutes for Q&A. We have 2 mics on the sides that, if you have any questions, wait until the discussion is finished, and then just come to the mic to ask your questions. And then we want to transition to a remarkable workshop. We have a little introduction, recognition, and some guidance to move into the breakout room sessions. Okay, so when we were thinking about the topic that we wanted to discuss for the Fireside chat, there was, different things that we discussed, and the one that really raised to the top was values, because we feel that identifying your values really defines who you are. It kind of, allows you to move in the different directions that you want to pursue, professional or your personal life, and it helps, or it can impact other people around you. So it was a very special topic, because I can relate to that, and when we discuss it with the panelists that we're gonna be introducing in a little bit, it resonated with all of them as well. So it is my honor to welcome Irene Kendall to the stage to lead this conversation. I know Irene for many years from our time together at Apple, and I have experienced her as someone who's immensely dedicated to creating a space for people to bring their whole diverse self forward and seek their full potential. Irene has held many leadership roles during her 17 years at Apple, and prior to that, in her role in higher education. What I want to highlight today is her passion for inclusivity, tech, and coaching. Irene has built and led the inclusion strategy and inclusion team at Apple. She co-designed and led a pioneering inclusive leadership program about unconscious bias with engineering teams. She is and will always be committed in advancing women and underrepresented groups in tech. Currently, Irene is a life transition, leadership coach, and inclusion consultant. She's also a certified Daring Way facilitator, delivering the work and research of Brené Brown to audiences across the U.S., including this weekend, where she's facilitating a retreat with a diverse group of women in tech. On a personal note, Irene gave me the opportunity to attend my first Grace Hopper celebration back in 2013, and introduced me to the first woman in tech community at Apple. And for that, I'm very grateful and thankful. We have collaborated in different projects that impact Latinx at Apple. And personally, I'm impacted because I'm Latina and I'm a woman in tech. So when I reached out to Irene to be part of this project, and she accepted, I was delighted and excited that she was going to moderate this inspiring panel for us and the importance of the values topic. Welcome.
Hello. Hello.
There, hello. Is that better? Wonderful. Welcome, everyone. We hope and we know that you'll enjoy this evening. And we have an incredible panel conversation to have with you all. We look forward to your questions at the end. It's my delight to be here. I flew out from California on Wednesday, and it was so great to walk out into the warmth of the day and the evening as my glasses steamed. It was quite wonderful to be here, and it's always a joy to spend time with Ruth again. So I want to introduce to you our panelists. I'm going to ask them to come up on stage, please. So let's introduce each of them for you. All right, so to my left and first, we have Leo Gomez. So, oh yes, applause. Oh, all right. I'm telling you, they're going to applaud. Probably a standing ovation. Maybe at the end of standing ovation. So Leo's beginnings at American Express started some 16 years ago when he was a summer intern. And in the time since then, he's held over 10 roles with increasing responsibility and a variety of functions, from process management to operations management to strategic planning and re-engineering and capability development. So with that, at his organization of American Express, he's now the Vice President for Global Transformation and Engineering Network. And so you can imagine, with all that work and commitment to the organization, Leo has certainly been recognized. He was recognized with the Chairman's Award in Innovation. He was recognized with the Chairman's Award for Superior Performance. And he received the award for Service Excellence. He earned his bachelor's with Industrial and Science Engineering and a master's in Engineering Management from the same university, Florida International University in Miami. Anybody else here? All right. So Leo hails from Venezuela. He shared with me that his family, his wife of 15 years and his 3 children, and his spirituality play a significant role in his life. He is very involved in ministry activities within his church. And at American Express, he is the executive sponsor of the Christian Employee Network Group, and also the Toastmasters Club. So, would you please welcome Leo? And Leo, would you share with us your 2 values, your core 2 values?
So my 2 values are my faith and my family.
Thank you. Great. So we have next, in the middle there, we have Pragya, Malhotra, and Pragya brings her 15 years of professional experience with her bachelor's in information science from the University of Delhi, her MBA from the University of Iowa, all to her role as Director of Products at Ultimate Software. I have another video at the end of this too, I can feel it. So in her role, she leads teams that are responsible for the flagship mobile application and for building consistent user experiences across products. So Pragya's leadership experience does not end at her work. She is just as committed in leadership with diversity, and that shows up especially with women. And so she is the vice chair of Women in Tech Committee at Ultimate Software. And she also founded a group, a local community group. It's called Lean In South Florida, which comes from Sheryl Sandberg's book, Lean In. And this is an organization in the local community that's dedicated to helping women achieve their ambitions. And so these efforts are very consistent at Ultimate Software, I hear, because Ultimate Software has been recognized by both Fairy Godboss and Fortune as one of the best places to work for women. And what I'll say about Pragya as well is that she's a proud, proud mother of 2 children, and one is a 4-month-old new baby girl. I love that. There's like a light tap, a light clap, a beautiful light clap for the baby girl. So, Pragya, would you like to share your values, please?
My 2 values are courage and vulnerability.
And so, Roberta Ricosso. So, Roberta brings his 20 years of experience with management, channel management, sales, and marketing to both domestic and international markets in F5 Networks, where he is the Regional Vice President for Latin America. The home crowd is here. So Roberto prides himself on proactive and articulate bilingual communication that he merges with his coaching and his mentoring in a way to achieve high-performing and high-achieving teams. Through that role as a top-performing executive, he was recognized by Frost & Sullivan with the Lifetime Achievement Award. Roberto is a staunch advocate of women in tech, and he shows that in many ways, but in particular through his writing. And he has written many blogs on the importance of supporting women and especially advancing them in their careers. And Roberto is a proud husband and father of 2 twin daughters, and Monica is here, one of his daughters. So welcome, Roberto and Monica. Roberto, would you share your 2 values?
Absolutely. So my 2 core values would be creativity and excellence.
Thank you. Thank you. So Leo, would you like to start us out? Okay. So remind us again of your values and what resonated with you in your personal life and your professional life around values, and what were you sharing?
Absolutely, so happy to be here. So as I shared earlier, my 2 values are faith and family, and those have been very clear to me for the better part of over 10 years. The reality is, to what the media share, I cannot be a leader, I cannot be a professional, I cannot be me without my values. So I show up as my entire self, with my faith, with my family as a priority. And the one thing that resonated, which links into one of the things that one of my former CEOs at American Express shared, is do not ever confuse your job title, your position with who you are. Who you are at the core is who you are, and then you just show up, all in, and that people that work with me or interact with me know that those 2 things, my faith and my family, are top priority. Everything else becomes like a means to an end. So that's what I resonated.
Thank you. Who would like to share next?
As I said, my 2 values are courage and vulnerability. And I have a small story on how this relates to my values. When I first became a people leader back in the day, I went to my mentor and I asked him, okay, you mentored me, I'm a leader, now what? And one of the things he said to me was, always lead with courage. You are here, you arrived. Now don't think that you're an imposter and you stole something from someone else and then you got this. You got this for a reason. Now lead by courage. And those words have never left me. I'm a firm believer that when we hire people, hire the best people and then they have their way. If I am in my people's way, day in, day out, they cannot bring their own whole self to work. So I lead by courage and I allow them to lead by courage also. And then the other value that resonates with me is vulnerability. And well, when we think of vulnerability, some people think that you're weak. I'm not weak. I'm vulnerable because I'm not perfect. And not my team members are perfect. I'm not perfect. We're going to all fail someday. And I'm not risk averse. Yes, I am scared of failure like everyone else is, but I have grace for you. And I'm going to lead by that, knowing I will fail, but I will not. Those are the values.
Thank you. Roberto.
Yeah, so again, thanks a lot for the opportunity for spending some time with all of you. As I mentioned, my 2 core values are around creativity and excellence. And what really resonates a lot is, if you look at the line of business that I'm in cybersecurity in Latin America. And as you can imagine, all the complexities that has to deal with in terms of international businesses, a lot of cultures, currencies, trying to do business with, a whole bunch of different time zones. It's really complicated. And when you're in a global company, you become that entity, meaning you become that America. So you have to represent that region in the rest of the world who might or might not necessarily understand those complexities. I remember a time when somebody told me, hey, we're going to be shipping this product from New York to Brazil, and it's going to be shipped overnight. And I said, good luck with that. It's going to take you 4 weeks to get there. And they said, well, why would you ship something from New York to LA and it gets overnight? I'm like, yeah, those are the differences, right? So when you talk about, going back to my core values, is really the creativity, is you have to find the way to never be able to say no to something. Again, I gotta be careful with what I'm stating here, because it doesn't mean that you have to always say yes, but the creativity comes in a way when you have to really come up and say, how can we do this versus this cannot be done? The creativity approach of let's figure out a way, and don't keep on waiting for somebody to tell you how to do this. So that's one of my values, is I'm gonna find a way to do this. And then the second one is on excellence, is really always striving to be better. I am an industrial engineering by career, and by design, what it is, industrial engineering is the art of coming up with better ideas, of enhancing or having a better process. So once you come up with something, you go and look at it, and then you try to improve it. Constant improvement. And when you're always thinking about having a constant improvement of something, you're always going to try to be better. And this applies not only in your professional life, but in personal life. So this is why I think these two resonated the most with me.
Oh, thank you all so much. And I'd also like to share with you that, in answer to this question too, my two values, presence and empathy. And so I think what sort of resonated with me with Renee's video is the power and the impact of our values when we're leading with them and when we're not. And I know when I sit in judgment, when I am sort of thinking about what that other person is doing and not doing, when I'm judging myself, when I'm judging the situation, I'm completely lost in my values. And when I'm at that point, I try to perfect, I try to be right, I try to fix, I try to rescue. I'm lost in that space, and I am not at all present, and certainly I don't have empathy for that other person. So for me, it's about pausing, it's about stepping back, about taking a breath, and realizing that I am in judgment. And that in order for me to be the kind of coach I want to be with life transitions and with leaders, and doing the work of building inclusive environments, I have to lead with empathy. I have to lead with inclusion in order to do that work. So, our second question, and I'm going to ask Roberta if you would please lead with this. So how can holding to our values help us to lead courageous teams, help us to ideate and innovate to greater possibility, to make sure that everyone's voices are heard, and to even better our lives and our work?
Yeah, so first of all, when we were talking about the core values, there's certain things that are non-negotiable, right? There's certain things like, for example, ethics. To me, it's binary. Either you have it or you don't. And when you're doing business, and again, going back to my example of Latin America, you're gonna face sometimes our business is done differently in different ways. But at the core, and especially if you're working at a multinational global company, the laws and the rules that apply are the U.S. laws. So that doesn't mean that if it's okay to give bribery in a particular country, it's okay for you, regardless if it's okay to you as an individual, right? But the important thing here is sticking to your core values. Again, like I was mentioning, is non-negotiable. And in my case, again, the creativity and the excellence. But I have an example of one time that a boss, we were asking to evaluate a particular supplier. And he said, hey, can you help me evaluate this supplier? We're going to do this. I said, sure. So we basically went through the whole process and identified these are the two options that I have, and based on this would be the best supplier that we should go with. Then my boss tells me, you know what, I don't think that you understood me correctly. What I want you to help me with is, help me justify why this supplier is better than that supplier. And I said, whoa, that's not what we agreed to, that's not, I think, right. He basically told me, no, that's what I'm asking you to do. At that time, I said, well, this is exactly what this goes against my values. I'm not going to go with this. At that time, that's exactly what I decided. This company, this entity is not what I want to be part of, and I decided to move on. So this, again, just going back to what we were talking about, the values is something that eventually you're going to have to be facing yourself to a scenario where you have to make that tough decision. Do I want to bend the rules a little bit and just abide by it because I want to continue with my job? Or do I want to continue being able to look into the mirror and say, you did right?
Yeah, so what I would add is, I remember, so I've been with American Express 16 years, and I remember very early on in my career, probably the first year or two, somebody, a colleague told me, look, there are two things you should know about corporate that you never bring up in corporate America. You don't talk about politics, you don't talk about religion. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'm not gonna last here long, and I have faith is who I am. I cannot decouple my beliefs and my faith from who I am, so if I cannot show up at work with my full self, how do I thrive in this environment, survive here? I'm not, how do you reconcile that? Values is not something like an accessory or something you can check at the door or something you can take off and put back on. As she said, like armor, values are intrinsically part of your identity. So turns out, I'm fortunate and blessed to work for a company like American Express that values diversity, values your full self. It has diversity networks like, Christian Employee Network, Hispanic Employee Network, Black Employee Network, and so on, Asian Employee Network. There's colleges, right? So I was able to identify and find, that is, something you can belong to and find people like you and kind of thrive in that environment. The other thing is, as a leader, back to the question of how do you empower teams to be, to get the most. It is exhausting to try to pretend you're somebody you're not. It is exhausting to put on a facade, to put on, try to, kind of fake it till you make it. So as a leader, you have to kind of show yourself first, kind of take it off first and kind of lead by example so that others can open up. And then you want a team where it's like a melting pot of values. You don't try to impose your values on other people. Your values are your values. It's your realities, your priorities, it's who you are. And other people have them. You don't try to compare or impose. You just welcome it and allow people to show up, with their full self. And then that energy that would have otherwise been invested in covering up, or trying to get reinvested in ideation, in productivity, in teamwork, in other things. So that's a little bit how I think about that.
Right. Would you like to answer?
When I think of my values, I'll share a story. I was 7 months pregnant. My son is 5 years old now. I was 7 months pregnant, and I was asked by this director to come and lead one of our departments as a manager of 45 males. And I was super pregnant, huge, big. I walked into this room, first meeting with the team, and I felt like there is not even one single face in the room that I could relate to. I could personally feel that they understood me, they understood what I was bringing. Or one, I was a woman in tech, and there was no other woman in tech in that company. And also I was in a different stage in life. No one else in the room was there. So after I came back from maternity, it was still a new job because I'd only been in the job for 4 weeks, at which I went to deliver the baby and came back after 12 weeks. So when I came back, I was striving for this ubiquitous work-life balance. I was always running after work-life balance, whatever that is. Honestly, I don't even know what work-life balance means, but I was always running after it. And when I was at home, I was like, oh goodness, I'm always behind on work. And when I was at work, I was always guilty that my little one was going to daycare, it was only 6. So there was always this turmoil of finding a balance within myself. But then, with time, I realized that, as I said, work-life balance to me is a myth. It is more about work-life flexibility, and that's what that I now associate with that. And that means that sometimes I'm cooking dinner and I'm answering my emails, responding to texts, and while I'm sitting at the dinner table feeding my child, I'm committed. I am committed to have that 5-year-old eat his vegetables. So, bring your whole self. I know that there will never be a work-life balance. I will sometimes sacrifice work, I will sometimes sacrifice my personal well-being, but at the end of it, I am happy and I thrive in the chaos. So that's my value system. I embrace it, I embrace the chaos, and I go forward with it.
Thank you all. Thank you. Yeah, I would say for me, it is about trust and risk. So when I lead with my values. There's a known there. There is a dependability, there's a consistency, and people begin to trust that. When I act outside of my values, it can become toxic and confusing for people. And so when I act into my values, then I'm not expecting people to please me, I'm not expecting them to align with me, I am giving them permission and hoping that they will bring their difference to the table. And so how I see it is that if I can suspend my judgment, there's more of an opportunity for diversity and for inclusion to be able to emerge and equality to emerge. When that happens, people can begin to feel safe. When they begin to feel safe, then they can start to risk. And it is when they risk that we start to see their talents and their gifts. And it is when we see their talents and gifts that they start to really push things inside our organizations, that we start to think differently, that we have different kinds of conversations. And that starts to really churn the innovation wheel. It starts to really bring different people's experiences into the conversation. Pragya, would you like to do the next question for us? And Renee sort of asserts, she does assert that getting clear in our values helps us to be brave and reminds us of why we're doing what we're doing. So share with us a time when you were brave, right? And you had fallen, and you made a mistake or disappointment or loss and so forth. And you were able at some point to stand up and say, okay, I'm doing this because this is my value and it's important to me.
I lead a team of product managers and product manager by trade. I was a business analyst and then I worked my way up to a product manager. When I was the first time product manager on one of the products, it was a brand new product, we did market analysis, launched the product. Oh, can you hear me? Thank you. So, did you capture the part before? No? Okay, I'll start. So I'm a product manager by trade. I lead teams of product managers. I started as a business analyst, engineer, and then moved on to a business analyst role, and then from a business analyst to a product manager role. So I was a product manager on this new product, and we did market analysis. We were going after this new segment of business and customers. The first product that I did was a failure, and we couldn't even sell it to any of the big customers we were going after. And one customer who did purchase the product, when they went live with it, we had abysmal results of users actually using the product. So it was like going and explaining to the C-suite why this product was a bad idea and we wanted to stop investment wasn't an easy thing, especially for a first-time product manager. And then I did not lose my job. And after that, I had to start back up as the lowliest product manager on another successful product and make my way back up through the ranks. And how it relates to my values is, at that point, a lot of times I thought I should just quit this profession, go find another job, or go find another company. But coming back to what my values are that courage is what I lead by. And I came to this country when I was 24, and with an attitude to not fail. I mean, honestly, failure wasn't an option. My visa would expire, so. But that was the way of operation. I was a seeker, and I did.
If you want to just jump in, I give you guys an example of one time that I had to make a very tough decision, which is when my manager was asking me to do something that was basically against my core values. So I guess that would answer the question around examples. I just wanted to add a couple of comments around the importance of course, not only the values, but for everybody to understand that when you're talking about business, business is done between people. Business is done between individuals. So regardless of the company you're working with, course, the company allows you to and gives you the support to doing a lot of things, but at the end of the day, business is going to be done between individuals. And those individuals are the ones who have the core value that we're talking about. So, of course, when you're working for a company, they're going to show you the values of the company. And the best thing that happens is when your values align completely to the values of that company, so you can be yourself. And like you were saying before, you cannot operate in a way that you are one person personally and a different person professionally. That's very important. We have to both of them be aligned. And again, just keep that in mind. Business is done between people.
Yeah, so I'll share a little bit of a personal story that aligns to the question of having experienced a loss and how your values can guide you through. So back in 2006, my wife and I had been married for 3 years, and we were expecting, and it was a very it was a cause for excitement, and so much so that we shared it with everybody at work, everybody in the family. We're so excited we couldn't hold it back, and then it turns out that in the second trimester, or 5 months into the pregnancy, we lost the baby. It was a devastating blow, and it was one of those things like talking about having your head down, and as Renee said, like one of your stories and stuff at the time. I'm like, we didn't know we were like in our 20s, we didn't know what we were going to do. It turns out she had a very rare condition from birth that made her very, very, very prone for preterm, basically, like miscarriages and things like that. By all accounts, from doctors and everybody, we would not have kids. We would not have kids. We should not have kids. We shouldn't even try to have kids. So talk about a life-changing kind of turn. And then the reality is, our values. My wife and I happen to share the same values, and family was one of those. Faith is another one. So we happened to kind of clinched to both and said, look, we're gonna try it again. And by the grace of God, I'm happy to say, like, I have an 11-year-old boy and a 7 and 5-year-old girls, perfectly healthy, perfectly. By the way, 2 of them were told had congenital heart issues, in the womb, would need life-threatening, would need surgery, etc., and didn't happen. So that's why I'm very, I am very, very, kind of faith is a big part of us, and then my family is it's my most precious thing as well. So that's an example of kind of being down, hitting rock bottom, clinging to your values, and then having a happy ending at the end. So I just want to share those points.
Thank you for sharing that for each of you. And now I want to ask individually, Roberta and Leo. This, of course, is an audience of not all, but mostly women. And also perhaps femme and non-binary identified individuals. And so I want to ask you, as men in tech, right, as male allies, how do your values around that drive your commitment?
Sure. So let me give you guys a quick background. Like I mentioned before, so again, I'm married to my beautiful wife of only 8 years. You know, you should. After dating her for 8 years, we have twin daughters. We have 3 female dogs at home. I have a female cat at home and a turtle that I'm positive is female. I have no idea. I'm willing to bet it is a female, right? So I can say that when we talk about being a male ally, this is not only at work, but also in my personal life. So I was talking to somebody last night, and it's funny because when we have meetings or gatherings at home, typically the guys will go to a table and the women will go to another table. I typically end up at the table for women. And I realize when I'm the only man there, and I look up and say, I'm sorry, I have to go somewhere else. So I'm very comfortable because I truly understand I don't want to say the differences, but the fact that you have to have a mixed environment in order for you to be successful, right? And for example, I was reading a note here, and I wanted to share this with you, and I have it here, so I don't mix it up. Technology-based companies, this is from the Stanford study. Technology-based companies led by women are more financially efficient, delivering more than 35% return on investment, and 12% more earnings than startups that are created by men. But then in spite of that, only 5% of the Fortune 500 CIOs are women, right? So it's like the economy. On one side, yes, you can be much more efficient, but then on the other side, something happens in the middle. So when we talk about being a male ally, let me give you an example. When I joined F5 3 years ago, my organization for Latin America was comprised of 97% men, and of course, the rest women. Today, we are 70% men and 30% women, right? So in 3 years, we have been able to move this out. So sometimes people ask me, how can you actually turn these things around without forcing the diversity story? Because sometimes you have to really avoid the fact that it has to be a woman in this position, or it has to be a man in this position. It has to be the right person, regardless of gender, right? So how can you help? So what I have been doing is, whenever I have an opening for a position, I demand that we have both men and women as candidates. And then I create an interview panel comprised of both men and women. That way, I am kind of forcing that the fact that you have candidates and people evaluating on both sides will help us get there. And let me tell you, after I started doing this, it's really interesting because a lot of women that are on the panel, they are the toughest ones to actually have another woman come in. So that has helped me a lot as well, because it's not the fact that, well, I wasn't selected by a man or woman. It really gives us a different perspectives that we all have, regardless of gender. But again, that's when it goes to being a man ally in terms of the community. It's not only wanting to be an ally, but doing something about it.
Yeah, so I am definitely a male ally. In fact, the reason I got me here is at American Express, we did for a couple of years something called a he for she panel, where male leaders kind of do a panel just like this to basically promote equality and kind of support women. I happen to be a product of women in leadership. For the last 13 years, I've reported directly to women for 10 out of those 13 years that I've been a people leader. In fact, early on in my career, when I was a new people leader and just finding my way through, kind of, I reported to an inspired and very great accomplished people leader who said, look, I don't know anything about engineering, so you're going to teach me engineering, I'm going to teach you about leaders. Is that a deal? And I'm like, absolutely. And then she kind of grew me, took me under her wing, and taught me all the leadership principles I now apply. So I feel like I owe it back to women, and I support, I mentor, I develop, I promote, women, and have led teams who are, happen to be just all women, and have seen what they can achieve. And beyond that, I am married to my role model women, and I have two beautiful girls, so I want to be able to look in the eye one day and say, I was able to, I left this world a better place for you too. So I want to be able to lead that example and support women. So that's fun.
Thank you. Thank you. So Pragya, question for you. What behaviors support and protect your values?
I'm going to slightly twist the answer to this question because we were talking so much about male allies. At Ultimate, this year we started an initiative called Women in Tech with the specific focus on bringing more women in tech, making sure that at every tech table there are more women. At Ultimate, we built HCM, Human Capital Management software. So many of our buyers are women, so many of our users, or the employees who are using our software are women. So we wanted to bring more women presence to our software. Now, in the tech sector though, when we look at university and schools, only 16 to 18% of class sizes are women. So then, out of that 16 to 18% that then come join the workforce, there is attrition, women move on to other careers. So how do we, one there is a small pipeline and then there is a deep pipeline. So we have to make sure that, as an organization, we take care of that. And in the organization, we went and looked for who are the male allies who can go and help other women come along. keep going at it. So that now coming back to the question, how that relates to my values is, team member is a team member. It's not so much about whether it's a woman or a man, but sometimes, especially in tech, on the engineering side especially, we do, I like to push women to become their best versions, to bring their whole selves, and not give up just because there's more male population in the room, and there is a lot of women here. I'm not sure from all which sectors they are, but that coming back to that my core value of courage, lead by your courage. Let it not be at the back of you. Lead with courage, let it be in the front of you. And yes, at times it will be difficult. You will be at a table where you may be the only gender specific role, but that's okay. When I first started, I was when I came to the US. In fact, I was at a table of 45 men and only female. Finding my voice wasn't always easy. It takes courage, but keep persevering.
Thank you very much, Pragya. So we have one last question, and then if you would like to ask your questions after that, we'll have time for a few of those. So the next segment of this evening that many of you are participating in is the I Am Remarkable program that is sponsored by Google. And the I Am Remarkable program, the foundation and part of their goals is to really take a look at self-promotion and what self-promotion is and isn't. And it's to kind of turn it on its head. Because self-promotion is not bragging. Self-promotion, and let me read you their definition because I think it's a beautiful one. It is the ability to authentically honor and speak to our personal and professional achievements. That doesn't sound like the self-promotion that I was taught a long time ago, that I should avoid in not honoring myself. So with that definition of the ability to authentically honor and speak to our personal and professional accomplishments, I ask you to share how can owning your values help with self-promotion?
Yeah, I think we've touched on it a little bit, but I do think it's about showing up with your full self and being comfortable with who you are. First of all, knowing who you are, and then showing up, flaws and all, whether people like it or not, just owning who you are, owning your stories, as Renee said, and then empowering yourself, and importantly, empowering others to do the same, so that it becomes a little bit of a wildfire effect and a viral effect of, look, if this person can do it, so I can. If this leader can do it, so can I. So showing that, and it's this kind of this dichotomy or this tension of having the courage and the confidence without becoming arrogant and cocky, and the humility and the vulnerability to strip down and show your flaws, your what makes you tick, what's important to you, what's not important to you, and kind of bring it all to the table and put it in front of others. So.
I feel like women especially suffer from not being able to self-promote. I've been guilty of it myself. Whenever someone would come and tell me, hey, the presentation was great, I would say, yeah, the audience didn't ask me hard questions. I wouldn't take any credit for my own presentation. Or if someone would say, great job, I would say, yes, I have a great team. Which I do, which it is important for women especially to be accepting of the compliment and then owning the success. And I keep reminding myself that it is important to own the success, and also my teams that it is important to own your success, and sometimes even be in fact being shameless about self-promoting. There's a book, Brag, Tooting Your Own Horn, and I've given countless of people on my team to go read that book, specifically so that they could get good in the art of self-promotion, because it's super important.
Great. When we talk about self-promotion, again, we briefly talked about it's not only talking about yourself, actually that's the last thing you have to do, but it's talking about the accomplishments. What have you, not only what have you done, but what have you accomplished, which is two completely different things. If you're, for example, in a sales position, right? The most important thing at the end of the day is did you meet your number or not? That's very, very simple. If your quota was 10, did you do below or above? That's very simple. But when you're talking about anything that you're measuring against, it has to be that simple at the end of the day. My recommendation is whenever you're talking about yourself or your accomplishments more than anything, don't talk about a specific point in time, meaning this quarter I sold 10. Is that good or bad? Right? Always think about what is the trend that you're seeing. I sold 10 versus 8 last year or last quarter. So that means that it's a percentage of up or down or whatever. So paint the picture. What you have to do when you're talking about getting results, which at the end of the day is your accomplishments, you have to paint the picture. Tell the whole story. Don't assume that the individual in front of you knows what you're talking about. Even though he might be your boss, trust me, he might not know that this quarter you sold 10% more than last year, and by the way, last year was such and such. So paint the picture. Fill in the blanks so that you're telling the story, because if you don't say something, the other individual is going to fill in the blanks with what he or she is thinking. So the self-promotion, again, you have to, first of all, look at yourself, look at the results, but most importantly, look at the mirror. Because that individual in the mirror is ultimately the one that you're going to be asking at the end of the day, did you do this? Did you not do that? And at the end of the day, it's all about you.
Thank you, thank you. So now we have an opportunity to ask any questions. So please, there's 2 mics on either side, so feel free to go up to them and ask your question.
Good afternoon, everyone. We talk about leading by example and getting girls involved and women. What are you doing in your organizations, like the Girls Who Code and the Brave Not Perfect book by Reshma? I say her last name so badly, but I would encourage all of you women to read it. I know if I missed a letter, I don't care. It's not, just be brave, right? What are you doing in your organizations to bring girls into tech? You have 2 daughters. You have 2 daughters who are twins as well, and you have 1 as well. What are you doing to get them more involved in your organizations? I know we do Girls Who Code in our community. So what do you guys do?
Yeah, so I'll touch on a couple of things. So American Express is definitely, like many other companies, making a deliberate effort to ensure there is equality, and actually the conversation around women is taking center stage. We do have a Women in Network and a Women in Technology kind of association, and we are making deliberate, kind of efforts to recruit the right women and recruit women and develop and promote kind of women and look at ratios, etc. I, for one, as a one kind of part of that equation, I've made it a point to mentor and be more deliberate of mentoring women. So actually, this year alone, I've been mentoring exclusively. I think 80 or 90% of my mentees are all women. And when I hire for positions in my team, we're being very deliberate about considering women. So those are a few of the things we're doing. I'm sure there's other things happening, but there's just a couple of things.
For Ultimate Software, we partner with Girls Who Code. We do hackathons on site with them, where we bring in the girls, they work on their problems, and then they get to showcase their own talents. We also partner with the STEM program. Recently, we had girls, 9th grade and upwards, the Girl Scout girls, and they had a STEM program, so the girls came in and we did science activities with them. We also partner with PACE, which is centered in Fort Lauderdale. It is for girls who run into some sort of trouble with the juvenile system. Their parents finally get them registered. So we bring those girls on site and have them shadow other women at Ultimate, even sometimes men at Ultimate, to give them a good showcase into what real life work looks like. And if they keep going on the path they're on, which is a good sober path now, what is at the end of this path. So we do a lot of community involvement, especially the younger girls, because they are our future.
I'm not going to elaborate too much because it's very similar to what we just discussed. We do a lot of with girls who code as well. Mentorship programs, internship programs is also something that is very important. We have a lot of people are coming or are studying during the time that they're participating inclusive programs. So I would encourage you just to go out into our website. There's a lot of info there. And again, particularly for FI, which is the cybersecurity, we need a lot of talent. And I can see a lot right here, so looking forward to that.
Thank you for that question. Let's go over here to this question and then back over this side.
Hi, I'm Dani. I just wanted to know, like, from your own personal perspective, how have, like, things changed for women in the workplace throughout the years, and where do you see them going? Like, from being, like, a young man or woman in high school to, like, entering the workforce to having, like, your own family. How has your perspective on, like, the culture and workplaces changed, and where do you see things going, and, like, what will or should have changed in the future?
Sure. So when I started about 2003, so about 15 years ago, and at that time in my school, I was in a class of 40, there were only 2 girls, and then I started my internship in a batch of 45 interns. I was the only woman. But now, actually, there are a lot of women from Ultimate here. There are a bunch of interns who are all women interns, and it's a big batch, many women interns. So the landscape is changing, and it is changing at a rapid pace. I'm very proud of it to see so many women come through and pursue engineering careers. So yes, it has changed a lot. And the thing is that as you grow in your careers, as women, I mentioned earlier, you will be on a table where there will be predominantly men, and that's okay. You are there because you've got this, you're there because you're good at your subject. Don't let the fear of gender push you back. Because the men are definitely not looking at this, hey, there's a woman sitting there just thinking, I'm playing my A game. So should you.
Yeah, and to that point, I can tell you right there. I can tell you that I have seen a lot of positive evolution towards this. This was, I don't think that you would have this kind of exposure 20 years ago, right? I mean, no, at least I wasn't exposed to this 20 years ago. So on one side, I can tell you that the diversity approach is something that is extremely important because it raises the dialogue, and I can tell you that from all the levels of executives is being discussed from any type of conversation around being inclusive. Now, when you ask me about what has changed, I would say the most important thing that has changed is that people are starting to care. That doesn't mean that they didn't care before, but it was not too visible, right? I remember being in meetings many years ago where there would not be a single woman at all for the entire conference, right? And now you see a huge difference in terms of the mix of, at these 2 events, the mix of executives in companies. And are we there yet? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But this is definitely, it has taken a very, very quick turn to the right towards this. So.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. So at American Express, there's a lot being done to make sure the conversation is center stage, and a lot of activities, a lot of things, and it wasn't. Years ago, it just wasn't. I mean, it was one of those, like, the blue things, everybody knows, like, okay, we're different, we're the same, but things are anywhere from, like, compensation reviews to kind of from, conversations, training, inclusion training around subconscious bias, right? Like, many of us, like, we may think there is no bias, but then how do you make sure you don't know that there's bias? It's subconscious. How do you actually, challenge your paradigms, etc. So I do like the conversation around women and equality and is center stage in a way that hasn't been many years ago. And I do think that, nothing else opens the door to a very candid and two-way conversation. It's very interesting.
I'm going to pause for one moment. We'll check in with Ruth and check on time. Yeah, let's, so if we do, I know we have 3 people standing. There are 2 over there for questions. Is that accurate? Over there? And then we have 1 over here. So I guess what I would ask, because it'd be lovely to be able to get those 3 questions in, but maybe it'll be 1 person that answers, and we can get through the 3 of them, so.
Well, I'll direct the question to Pragya. So earlier when you were talking about when someone said, oh, you did a great presentation, and you said, oh, I have a great team, that is something that women have, well, I personally do. It's like I give credit to everybody else, not and minimizing the amount of effort that I put into it. could you give us some tactics or some like phrases or some things to just like, to help us, or help me, or whoever else is interested, kind of be a little more like, yeah, I did amazing, but like, I also have a great team, or whatever. How do we figure out how to handle it?
Be inclusive, right? Don't take the credit all by yourself. Yeah, and I said this, but as I even said, that this is a continuous reminder that I have to remind myself that yes, take it, own it. So if someone would tell me, hey, you did a great job, I would say, yes, we've been working hard at it, and my whole team supported me. Right? This shows that I've been working hard at it while my team supported me instead of saying, yeah, it was my team. Well, it was my team, the team did everything, right? So it's that phrasing, not saying that it's not my team because I am what I am because of my team, but also I am their leader, so taking it and running with it.
I just want to point out something. I know you said no, but
I only have so much control, I know.
I just want to point out something that she said. I don't know if you guys caught it. Is that when somebody asked you, hey, or told you you did a great job, you said yes, we did. So that to me is your answer to how can you do that is speaking more about we versus I.
And I would also add to that it's a process. I mean, we have societally, women in particular, have been trained. You know, we've been formed to be able to say that, not to bring our own space, to claim our own space. And so it takes little bits of language here and there with people that you feel safe with to be able to do that. And then asking people who are with you, who are championing you, to also support you and check you when you're not giving yourself credit and just to the team. But we're not also saying to give up the team, that it is equal, right? We are working on this together. But using a champion to sort of help you through that as well.
And one more thing, sorry. But
I wrote the bullshit.
I would also say, I mean, I don't know how many of you are leaders in the room, but if the people that report to you do that, where they are not taking compliments or they are, passing the compliment on to someone else, stop them right there. Don't short sell yourself. Like, coach them so that they can take the compliment when it's due to them. And when you start doing that to them, you will start doing that to yourself as well.
And now I do need one answer per question.
Hello, my name is Grace. I'm a recent computer science graduate. And I was curious, when it comes to perspective, we talk a lot about what women can do to empower themselves, to speak up, to gain perspectives by having diversity. But as a recent graduate, I can definitely agree with the percentage of women in classes, in development areas as a developer myself. I was curious to know, I sit right there in person, for Pragya, if you could talk about, as male allies, there's a certain active duty that comes with being an ally. I was wondering if maybe you could talk about other male allies that maybe stood up for you, or how you would like to see other male allies really assert themselves, because sometimes being passive can say more than doing something. I hope that makes sense.
Person's me, right?
Yes.
I'm not certain I understood the question, but I'll answer what I understood and tell me if I didn't answer, then please correct me. So, to me, first is to, yes, look for male allies. I am not only going to look for female allies in the company, because I'm not going to brand. As much as I say that I'm a woman in tech, that is the irony. I don't want to brand myself only as a woman in tech. I'm a whole person. And I'm not only good because I'm a woman in tech. I am good because I'm a good person in tech, and that's the brand that I carry with myself. And with that comes the thing that when I'm going to look for mentors, I'm not only going to look for female mentors. I'm going to look for mentors who are male allies too, because those mentors are going to be able to tell me the things which maybe as a female I don't see. And as a female, I have my own bias, just like males have subconscious bias. Even females, we have a lot of subconscious bias. So when I go looking for mentors, I'm going to look both female as well as male allies. Did I answer your question?
Yes, there's not a lot of time.
Okay, thank you.
So now we have the last marvelous question.
Spotlight. Good afternoon. My name is Tamara Smith, American Express. I'll
I'll direct my question towards you, Leo. So considering that faith is one of your core values and mine as well, as I'm kind of new on the faith journey, how do you balance making decisions for the organization while remaining true to your values? For instance, when you're dealing with an employee that may not be a right fit for the company, but your faith tells you we can work this out because, he saves all, right?
Yeah, that is a fantastic question, actually. So the reality is, at the end of the day, you have to look at, put things in perspective, right? So in terms of I've had to do performance management, I've had to do restructuring, I've had to do, many things in the position I am in. I do believe, again, back to my faith, is I am here for a reason. I am here because this is where I need to be. And I also have a responsibility have to balance the constituencies I've been given. It includes the shareholder, it includes the customers, it includes, the colleagues or the employees that are at my. So I cannot look at decisions in isolation. And while I know that a certain decision may impact an individual or multiple individuals, at the end of the day, that decision is in the greater context of what's best for a variety of constituents. So for example, a person who may not be a good fit or performing, a low performer, as an example, is impacting the broader team, and it could be impacting the company. So if that's the decision, and obviously I do it in conversation with the individual, and I will say, because my faith is so ingrained in who I am, I pray on it. And at the end of the day, I make the decision that I feel is the right decision. But I don't try to see it as a conflict. I try to see it as as a part of what needs to be done, and I just do it in line with my values and my faith.
Thank you. Thank you for those great questions. And the panel and I, what we wanted you to do, and I hopefully the next slide will sort of show this, is that we're talking about values, is what if we all sort of, had this tag on ourselves, right? That when you walk through your day-to-day, it listed your values. We each shared with you our values. But can you imagine every single person walking through their day-to-day, and on their values it said empathy and presence, or whatever your value is, and you walk through each day with that. My question to you is, how would you act differently? What would you say differently? How would you be different in that? We would make different kinds of decisions if everyone else could also see our values as well as ourselves. So the idea up there is there's a values board in the back, and also to sort of think about answering those questions for yourself around what are my core values, and am I walking in and leading with those? So with that, we ask you to walk and lead with your values, and I would like to sincerely thank our marvelous panelists who have shared and shown and spoken through their values that they lead with. Thank you.
I have one more last question for the panel. As we go to the transition and remarkable workshop, I would like each of you to tell me, I am remarkable because. So, let's start, Irene.
I am remarkable because I'm remarkable. Wow, this is okay until you all start staring at me. I am remarkable because who I am is creating a safe space for people to bring their whole selves forward for whatever is possible.
So I am remarkable because I am loved by God. I've been blessed with a beautiful family, and I am a Hispanic immigrant who has thrived in corporate America, and I'm in a position to influence the development of others, both personally and professionally.
I am remarkable because every day I choose to fear less and dream more.
I am remarkable because every day that goes by, I truly care about people around me.
Well, thank you, everybody. This was very inspiring. I mean, we have learned a lot from everybody's stories and advice. So thank you for being here today. We have a little token of appreciation that Sona will be given, and you can wait and see it until we finish. We're going to run quickly on the next slides so we can transition to the workshop. Thank you so much. Okay. So, Unremarkable is a Google initiative to empower women and underrepresented groups to talk freely about their personal and professional accomplishments. One of the purposes is to challenge the social perception around self-promotion. So I'm going to quickly go over the logistics for the workshop. So the workshop is about 90 minutes duration, and the facilitators will go over the importance of the self-promotion skill and provide some tools for you to use it on a daily basis. Next slide, please. I want to recognize 15 facilitators today that are sitting in this group, went through the Google training to really become trainers to run the workshop today for all of you. So if you guys can stand up so people recognize you. Thank you so much. It's been an amazing collaboration, and we do highlight that we cover 9 South Florida companies in tech, which is huge because we will continue with the message not only in the community, but in our own companies. So thank you so much. You guys have a little token of appreciation at the table as well. Okay, so thanks NSU for being amazing, for giving us an amazing venue and a great support to host this event today. I want to thank American Express and Ultimate Software for the donations and for making this event possible as well, and Google for giving us the training and really have us running the Unremarkable workshop for all of you. So a couple of things that I want to highlight, please. Make sure that you fill out the survey. The survey will be shared with you by email on Monday. So as soon as you receive it, please provide your feedback, share it in social media, like any pictures, things that you learned today with our panelists and with the workshop. We have hashtags that are shared on the screen, and you will see it in some of the flyers. Share what you're here for and your engagement and your participation. It is important as we try to build this women in tech community with Anita B. Org. It is important for us to show the interest and the strength of our community. Sorry. And a couple other things. This is a membership card. So as we move into the next event, make sure to keep it. We will, if you're new on the event, you will get a new one, but if you have been in a previous event, please wear the previous badge. So keep it, don't lose it. This is a membership card. The other thing I wanted to highlight is Grace Hopper celebration is going to be in Orlando this year, October 2 to the 4th. Public registration starts July 17th. So be aware, put it in your calendar if you're planning to attend and participate. It is very difficult to register, but it's not impossible. So put it in your calendar, read about it, go to Anita B. Org site to make sure that you have the information that you need. Or reach out to us if you have any questions. I think that's it for me. Oh, yes. Okay. Okay, so.
They're going to be actually
Okay, which one? 9. So group 9 for the workshop is going to be in room 3045. 3045, group 9. That's the exchange. And you have now maybe a couple minutes to walk. We're going to be walking to the Santos building. We have some volunteers that will direct you. Second floor is where we have, in the majority of the workshops, and we have 2 groups in the 3rd floor, I believe, for the students, right? Okay, 4 groups on the 3rd floor. So feel free to, to walk that way. Take some food, because we all have food there, so make sure that you have something to do for snacks. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming.